Let's go. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Bryant Ferate podcast. Thank you so much for being here, checking out the pod. Today's episode is the audio version of my newsletter, Ferate's 5 February update. So this was inspired by Noah Cracknell, and he did a little shareholders newsletter recapping his February. So I took his format and added my own twist to it. So shout out to Noah Crack. He's been on the podcast 3 times. But let's dive into that. So February was actually pretty sick. In regards to the podcast, I was really going all in on the podcast in December and January. And then as we rolled around to February, I took the leap of faith and I started a new project, which is the Daily Deposit newsletter. So I'll link that in the show notes and in the description for this YouTube video that you guys can check out. But I went 25 for 29 in February of posting articles. So real quick, we'll roll through these, but I ran 125 miles. I had 4 Cosube Burritos, which shout out to the Sunday Run Club and Cosube, which is a dope spot in Portland, Oregon. My total steps were 520,000, which turned into about 295 miles covered in that 4-week span. My resting heart rate is 50. The average was 50 beats per minute, which, to be honest, we got to improve that. I think that was honestly impacted a lot by just not sleeping very much. But we're going to get fitter because before you know it, it's going to be April 28th in the Eugene Marathon. Last couple articles published. Like I said, I published 25 articles in the month of February. I dropped 5 podcasts, and travel-wise, I made it to Seattle to see Mike Rich, and I went to Spokane and Los Angeles with the University of Portland women's basketball. Right now, I would say the one thing I'm loving is my new Hyperion Maxes. They're these gecko colorway, so they're green and red. They kind of look like the Grinch Kobe's, but there's some Brooks running shoes. I've been able to bust those out and get a couple speed sessions in when it's sunny out in Portland. Also, a part of that update or that shareholders letter of how my February has been going was a small snippet from my favorite article. And my favorite article that I wrote in February was "What's Honey, I'm Home Energy." So basically, Tony Robbins and Sean Puri talked about this idea of we want to bring our best, especially to the people who mean the most to us. So you think about when you get home from a long day at work, the last thing you want to do is the people that mean the most to you, whether that's your partner, your husband, your wife, your best friends, your family. You don't want them to experience you being like, oh, man, it was a long day. I'm gonna complain about X, Y, and Z. So Tony Robbins talked about just this core. My favorite part, to be honest, was they put a description to a core principle in my life. I've always felt that way. I just never really knew how to describe it. So I really appreciated Sean and Tony Robbins explaining this honey, I'm home. And maybe you don't have to go that far, but it's just pausing and asking yourself, what kind of energy do I want to bring to my first 60 seconds of this interaction that I'm going to have with the person that I care about the most? And then it's that idea of you're training your enthusiasm. And yeah, it might be a little fake at the beginning. It's not going to feel normal, but just like an athlete improving their skill on the court or on the field, you're improving that skill of being enthusiastic and being stoked to see the people that mean the most to you. You should be bringing your best to the people who mean the most, not just bringing the juice when you go to work or you see somebody at the gym. It's you should be pumped. And it's the quote I wrote was, most importantly, you're not letting external circumstances impact how you treat the people that mean the most to you. So I'll link that in the show notes if you want to check out Honey, I'm Home Energy. And the last part I just did was an update from the podcast. So I dropped 5 episodes. It was with Noah Cracknell, Phil Kornichuk, Harvey Martin, and Connor Webb, who's the Couch GM. And then I dropped 1 newsletter pod. So February, I had 5 podcasts. And then in February for the Daily Deposit, I started the project, which is A daily deposit is a consistent, intentional commitment to investing in yourself. So it's making those small investments and commitments now for a better future later. Maybe it doesn't seem like a lot to go for a 30-minute walk. Doesn't seem like a lot to stand in the grass barefoot for 5 minutes. Doesn't seem like a lot to drink a water bottle first thing when you wake up in the morning. But those things will pay off in the future. And it's only going to help you be a better version of yourself. Um, just last little bit, just quick hitters. It isn't normal to know what we want, as well as one workout equals one less day in the hospital, or my second and third favorite articles that I wrote, which I'll link in the show notes and the description down below. My favorite YouTube video was Casey Neistat, famous YouTuber, content creator, and he finally broke the 3-hour mark of running a marathon. And then there was a tweet that inspired me, but I would say my favorite song of February was Aston Martin Music by Rick Ross. That's a banger. But by the time this podcast drops, I'll be headed to Las Vegas. UP women's basketball is starting the WCC conference tournament. We play Saturday in Las Vegas at the Orleans. But it's crazy. We're already into March, and we're just trying to make every day the best day of the year until tomorrow. So I appreciate you tuning into this newsletter and joining me in my process of putting myself out there on YouTube. So I appreciate you checking it out. If you want to see the written form of this, you can check out my newsletter at bryantferate.beehive.com. And then the daily deposit newsletter is joindailydeposit.com. But I appreciate you all, and thanks for the energy. Peace.